Good evening, TikTok. Every now and then I get a politically charged item that's sent to me, but with anything related to media, knowing the end user is also the content, one has to know that when it comes to censorship hysteria, it's usually larger corporate media looking to sell you a bag of horseshit. Globe Media, CTV, Rogers pretty much is the bulk of the Canadian market that owns every newspaper and pushes the CPC and LPC to deregulate and privatize healthcare and education at the expense of average Canadians who, if not had to use a hospital, will have to at some point in their life. Point being, the special interests who are at odds with Bill C11 reform are at odds because Canadians choose American content on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney, Alphabet, all of which, whether you realize it or not, usurped the advertising and marketing leverage because most Canadians don't like watching most Canadian content. So what does Bell Globe Media do is understand that the ones in charge are American entities, and it's in their best interest if Bill C11 doesn't pass so that they don't have to spend as much in Canada but still have a share of advertisers selling them products and services that then are sold to Canadians through their media platforms that are regulated by our marketplace through the CRTC. So who wants to stop Bill C11? We know that it's Meta, we know that it's Netflix, Amazon, Disney, etc. The American entities that have synergized the model which promotes their original productions and is vested in seeing deregulation because they have been buying up things like pharmacy licenses in the United States that can be exploited in that marketplace, and they can't get too much leverage in Canada. They've already convinced most Canadians that there are issues with COVID vaccines. They're already convincing Canadians that there were issues with masks, and they've politicized things in a certain way to deregulate and privatize and fearmonger. But that's a whole different special interest agenda in regards to the insurance cartel that healthcare entities are vying to open up in this marketplace. Americans produce the content we watch, and we understand that. And they sell us the crap we buy, and we understand that. But they promote it on Canadian platforms. In their view, we don't make good content because it's unwatchable, and so it's unfair for Canadians to legislate that they enable 30% of the products on their platform to be Canadian. That is something Sheila Copps was lauded for during her stint as Heritage Minister almost 30, 40 years ago, and was subsequently supported by those who followed. In current times, rage farming, fear-mongering go hand in hand with corporate interests that are at odds with the norm and the status quo in Canada under both Liberal and Conservative parties. In light of the Cambridge Analytica scandal regarding Facebook and its parent company Meta, the Canadian government has doubled down on reforming Bill C11, which inherently pushes Meta, Alphabet, and those mentioned entities like TikTok to promote the Canadian content. Yet, the Canadian government knows it can't police content creators like Ezra Levant or myself or anybody else in Canada. At best, what they're saying is if it comes down to content, then let the convicted libelants like Rebel News Media publisher Ezra Levant do it because he's Canadian instead of some media entity in the United States, such as Tucker Carlson. And that in a roundabout way, they're saying Canadians have a right to freely express themselves more than Americans. And maybe that's true. Maybe in an absurd kind of reality in our commodified neoliberal structure that pits working class people against working class people, Canadians should be lied to by other Canadians instead of an American lying to a Canadian, especially if it's from an investment point of a Canadian who is going to employ other Canadians to lie to them. Maybe we are all fine by that, because maybe we're smart enough to understand what the lie is, mere entertainment and fear-mongering and rage farming that we could just not respond to. See, at the end of the day, I'll burn my bridge with Ezra Levant when I get to it. But in the meantime, all this hyperbole regarding freedom of expression is crap. It's just Meta and Amazon and Disney and TikTok wanting to get into this market space a little bit deeper, because they don't want to make or hire Canadian folks to make those things that sell their products, the products that they already own. It's their pipeline, it's their synergy. It's inefficient to do it otherwise. But what is nationhood anyway? We are a client state to the Americans. So if you want to buy into the hyperbole, make it a thing about freedom of expression, you can. But I'll tell you the truth right now. It's only about selling you the same crap. But are you going to buy it from an American, or are you going to buy it from a Canadian? Peace.